The origins of dowsing can be traced back over 2,400 years ago. Perhaps the first written evidence of an early form of rod divination comes from the Greek historian Herodotus. Around 444 BC, Herodotus wrote of the Scythians, fierce warriors inhabiting the land north of the Black Sea in what is now southern Russia. As historical record, Herodotus wrote that Scythia has an abundance of soothsayers who foretell the future by means of a number of willow wands. Dowsing makes another appearance, this time in Germany, almost 1,400 years after Herodotus. In 936 AD, an antique gold coin, minted to commemorate the discovery of a silver mine on Rommelsburg Mountain, displays a man holding a forked stick in the well-known dowsing position while walking across the ground. In more recent history, about 500 years ago, a scholar by the name of Georgius Agricola documented the various uses 16th century dowsers applied to their rods. A woodcut from Agricola's historical archive shows a man among miners taking a limb from a tree to serve as a rod. Once again, it displays dowsers looking for ore and clearly showing miners where to dig. Though forms of dowsing continued to be practiced by many, the phenomenon was considered mysterious or even magical. Those that studied dowsing during these periods often speculated as to the formulation of proper techniques and methods, many personalizing their process. As a result, nobody could be entirely sure what process was the most efficient, or more importantly, why or how dowsing worked. In 1630, Bernard Cassius and Athanasius Kircher were some of the first to attempt to study dowsing from a more rigorous scientific perspective. Kircher, after refusing to accept a magical interpretation of dowsing, spent much time trying to understand the mechanism by which the process worked. Though he ultimately failed, he paved the way for later efforts to examine dowsing separate from any magical theories. Despite the lack of scientific understanding and widespread skeptical resistance, even as we approached the 21st century, parts of society continued to embrace the notion that dowsing worked and could be an effective tool in one's daily life. Today, articles continue to appear in mainstream publications, including the Reader's Digest, the Washington Post, and the official magazine of the Smithsonian Institution, all attempting to provide additional insight into this ancient skill, supplying evidence that there was more to dowsing than meets the eye. Unfortunately, many misconceptions generated throughout the last several hundred years regarding what dowsing could be used for and why or how it worked have carried through to today's practices, such as the notion that dowsing rods are controlled by some sort of invisible force, or even the idea that one is required to use certain tools like rods or sticks. But probably the greatest misconception still widely believed today is that dowsing can only be utilized to locate conductive substances such as water or metals. But without extensive and conclusive modern-day research, nobody could know for sure the mechanics behind dowsing, or even if it worked at all. In the early 1970s, as dowsing continued to capture people's interest, the public was unaware that this ability was about to be put through the ultimate test. A scientific endeavor utilizing several of the most brilliant physicists and researchers who would exhaust the use of every modern technological tool the world had to offer. Not only to uncover the secret behind dowsing, but all related extrasensory perception. This time, the subconscious mind wouldn't be studied out of curiosity. It would be studied out of necessity.
We're trying to track down hostages.